I have known Greg all of his life. Greg D'Amico is a hard-working family man who truly loves Welland. He believes in what our community can accomplish if we all work together. Right now, the city of Welland has a choice. We can maintain the status quo by electing as mayor one of the same individuals who's had a seat on council for many, many years and have made little progress. Or we can elect a mayor who will respond to our changing world. A mayor who's going to tackle the challenges we face in Welland, both the challenges we know and the ones that are yet to come. I believe that Greg D'Amico is the person to lead our community into a better future. We are going to build together for ourselves, for our children, and for our grandchildren. On October 25th, I hope you join me in voting for a better Welland. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce Welland's hope for a better tomorrow, Mr. Greg D'Amico.
Thank you. You know, I don't think I have to say anything. How about Lynn Maloney for, Prime Minister? That works. You know, I want to talk about one of the big things, and what Lynn said was so important to me, is that we have been family, we are family, we're cousins. She's like my fourth sister, and they have been just wonderful to me in this campaign. All of her family, all of my family have just been, they've been there. My mother's been to campaign meetings, and my wife and the boys, and even my son Isaac at one point, he drew me a list of all the things that I should do as mayor, and of course one of them was less school. But I want to thank Lynn for everything, and Mark, and I really want to talk about a little bit about family. I really want to bring you, let's just put it this way, I want to bring you on a journey. It's not going to be a long one, but it's a journey. And it does start when I'm 3 years old. So go with that. I can remember as a kid at 3 on Weller Street in Welland and walking the wall and thinking it was so high. And my brother Tony was the one holding my hand, and I remember thinking, wow, he's pretty big. He was 13 years old. And I can remember saying that I want to live on Weller Street one day, and I want to be close to Chippewa Park. And then I can remember growing up on Parkway Drive and playing ball hockey with the Kovacs and the Leons, and going to all the events and being a big part of what Welland had to offer. Then my boys grew up and we lived on Church Street, and I brought them to Chippewa Park, and I brought them to the pad, and I brought them there, and we played ball, and we did all the fun things that Welland is, and all of those things, that what makes Welland what it is, everything that I just told you is my reason for running for mayor. All of those things. It's about family, it's about Welland, it's about the parks, it's about being together. It's about knowing that I have friends from high school here, friends, new friends, and old friends, and comrades, and people that I work with. That's what Welland is, and that is why my bid for running for mayor is so important. But principally, I'm going to tell you that my reason for running for mayor is because of my boys. It's because of my family. It's been far too long that Welland's biggest export has been their youth. We export our youth on a regular basis, and we do that, why? Because we don't have the jobs. We do that, why? Because we have such disconnect. That's why. That our family and the heritage that we have in this town is what was the footing of this town. That's the footing, the heritage. My grandparents came here. The Panzikas on King Street, the D'Amicos on Burger Street, the ice and the coal. That's the heritage, the ones that came to bring all of these families to us, to build the canals, to build the bridges. That's the heritage, and that's the reason why I'm running for mayor. Is I'm running because that footing is very important. And for the last 7 years, the old guard at City Hall, the old guard that want to run and be mayor now, they have really broadened that gap. They've forgotten that the heritage and the footing that was Welland is what we belong to. We belong to that footing. That is what we need to do. That the infrastructure and the core of the city have crumbled and have been left behind. that the morale has never been lower. Unemployment is the highest in the region. I don't know if you knew that. That new jobs, new tax revenues are virtually non-existent. Virtually non-existent. There are no new revenues coming into this city, and there are no new jobs. The large disconnect between existing business and Civic Square is huge. We have all these mom and pop businesses. We have these small town businesses. They are going to be the ones that we need to support. There's no contingency plans. There's no fiscal procedure. There's no business plan. There's no input in the Niagara health system. This city council, these people that want to be your mayor, these 7 old guard, these gentlemen that were running, they are the ones that did nothing when it was time to put some words into the health system. They did nothing. There's no accountability and there's no leadership. And I'll talk to accountability later. But we can do better and we will do better. We need the new energy, and we need energy at City Hall. We need to get all of City Hall working, and I'm going to tell you again, like I told you the other day, I am that new energy. We need to go back to that footing. We need to go back to the heritage. We need to go back to where we started, the new Canadians. We need to go back to what that footing brought to this town, and we need to build a new foundation. And on that new foundation, and if you haven't heard on the new foundation that we're going to do, if you've seen it all over your tables, it's jobs, 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 and what was the last one? Oh, jobs. But really, I mean, jobs are the key to Welland's future. But the key is not to go to China and get 10,000 jobs. The key is not to get Toyota to come here. That's not the key. The jobs are the cornerstone of the rebuilding of that foundation. The foundation I want to put back on the footing that our relatives and our ancestors put in place. If we do not build that foundation again, and we do not find our place, it's not going to happen. So one of the things that I want to do, and job one for me, is maintaining existing jobs. We cannot afford to lose one more job in Welland. It just can't happen. We need to work with the existing businesses. We need to work with the residents. We need to find solutions from within. We can't always expect to go elsewhere, and we cannot always expect to maintain jobs just by sitting at City Hall and making policy. We need to talk to them. I mean, I don't have any experience at spending taxpayers' money, and I don't have any experience at increasing debt, but I do have business experience, and I do know fiscal responsibility, and I will be talking to these small businesses because they're going to be my #1 job. They're going to be my #1 cornerstone. It's going to be the first brick I lay in my foundations. Number 2 is we need to create jobs. We need a vital economic future for our youth and youth retention. I mean, let's be honest. As I said before, our biggest export has been youth, and we've got to stop. We need to send them off to school and bring them back here to rebuild the Welland that we knew and loved. We need the lowest possible tax base. Utilize all Welland assets and attract new ones. We have so many assets here. It's unbelievable that we're not utilizing them. So many brains, so many businesses that can be done. We need to market in Canada first. We need to market in Ontario, in the Niagara region. These are going to bring new jobs. It's going to be the mom and pops, the one-by-ones. It's not going to be the 500 factories. It's not going to be the 200 factories. It's going to be guys like Paul's Lawn Care, Paul's Decorating Center, like Mary Luska's business. It's going to be these small businesses that hire one at a time, and they grow and they prosper. And if we don't get City Hall to connect with these businesses, how do we expect them to grow and prosper? You can't do it in a silo. It's not going to happen. The other opportunity that we have is in my jobs is to promote and maintain a high quality of life. If you cannot promote and maintain a high quality of life, you'll never attract a job. So we need to invest in that. We need to make sure that we can attract new hires and bring back our youth. We need to work with the Niagara health system. We need to keep close ties with other communities to keep our hospital up and running in Welland. We need to be at that table, and we need to be talking to them with Fonthill and Port Colborne. We need to make sure we're there, because if we don't have Welland Hospital, we're never going to get any jobs. And that's very important. We need to reach out, not internationally, but locally. We need to find, and we need to work with each business and find out what they need. And then we need to bring those companies to town, bring those mom and pops back, so that they can work with each other. That's one thing that's very important. We're not doing that right now. We have such disconnect. And we need to clear the red tape for these businesses. If they want to come in, they want to function, we need to clear the red tape at Civic Square. We want to make sure that we're there to say, what can we do to help? That's so important. And we need to use technology. I mean, it's unbelievable that the technology that is not being utilized, that we can use. And that brings me to a whole nother job, number 4, and that's reaching out. We need to reach out to the community. We need to reach out so that we have new growth. We need to reach out so that we can communicate within City Hall and outside of City Hall. We need to build on our communication through easy as a bulletin out with your level and hydro bills. They don't do that anymore to tell you what's going on and maybe highlight a business or two. You know, there's so many things, there's so many different ways that we can reach out. How about the BIAs and the Chamber of Commerce? They're not at the table right now. Why aren't they at the table? I don't know. But they need to come to the table because they're the ones talking to business. We need to speak to the social agencies. We need to find out what they need. We need to find out what they need for their people. We need to talk to new Canadians, new immigrants. Wait a minute. That's exactly what my grandparents were. They were new immigrants. They were new Canadians. They built Welland. Well, guess what? The new ones are going to be coming along, and we need to support them as well. We need packages. So they come to City Hall, they say, oh, that's where I can do that. That's where I get that information. I had no idea that's where the Salvation Army was. Those are the things that we need to help these new Canadians work and live and strive so they can build the new Welland along with our youth. I want to first talk about accountability. Accountability is also accessibility, and it's also trust, and it's also transparency. And that needs to be brought back to City Hall. That true accountability, that true transparency that a lot of people talk about, but we need to do it, and we need to do it now. As a candidate for mayor in Welland, I believe that our citizens have the right to know what the government's doing, to offer them input at the government policy, to offer them the ability to have their say. We need to speak with all the agencies, we need to speak with all the departments, we need to open up dialogue. That, again, is accountability. If you can talk to somebody and say, this is what we want, it'll happen. I plan to bring all of these agencies to the table so they can tell me what they need so that everybody can have something. We need to utilize the technology to communicate both inside City Hall and inside out. And we need to increase lines of communication, again, with the businesses. And that brings accountability back to us from an economic development standpoint. If we know what they need, we know what they want, we know where they stand, we can help. There's none of that going now. There's just disconnect. We need to have an open government as a cornerstone of our democracy. And I got to tell you, this principle is something I believe in very much. The openness of government, the openness of believing that you can do something for somebody is what's important. The belief factor that you are the cornerstone because you are the mayor's office, because you are the civic square, you are the cornerstone of your community. And without that open communication, without that accessibility, you are not going to be able to communicate with people and bring new jobs. It's not going to happen. And the people have been disenfranchised from City Hall. I mean, truly they have. You know, they stand up at council, they ask to be heard, they're giving a time limit. When people are called Civic Square, there's times that they don't get answers back. I've heard from people that have called certain areas and never got a return call. But we need to, and that's, there's a lot of reason that happened. I'm not blaming staff, but I'm thinking there's got to be some sort of accountability for answering your phone, for returning an email. We need to figure that out. We need to reconnect with all of the citizens in Welland. That disconnection is just, it's not good. And as mayor, I plan to bring back accountability to the city of Welland and to City Hall.